Hey, man, how's the Father's Day?
Very nice. And you?
It was great. I was, it took until I think 1 o'clock before someone said Happy Father's Day to me in my house, but I knew they meant it. And we had a good time. And bottom line is, it's an important day for dads out there. Talk to me about this Facebook news today, because we're now getting advertisers that are pushing back against the company. And frankly, it's been a whirlwind 2 weeks for Facebook on really what their whole stance is as it relates to not only Black Lives Matter, or really just around the censorship issues on the internet, and how they're handling a lot of the stuff that seems to be front and center.
Yeah, well, we don't have a handle on their stance because, quite frankly, I don't think they have a handle on their stance. They seem to be getting blown back and forth with whatever they think is the most advantageous for the stock price. That's what I believe. It's my opinion. I could be 100% wrong. That's just the way I.
So do you think they're really almost trying to game this on what's the maximum public perception?
100%. I mean, again, that's just from my vantage point. That's my opinion, and I find it fascinating. Your point about advertisers. One thing we've said consistently now for years is, I don't particularly love the platform. As a matter of fact, I sort of loathe the platform.
I'm not there, dude. If you tried to find me on Facebook, you'd be looking a long time. I'm sure there's
like advertisers
19,000
have no place to go, and people don't leave. People do not leave the platform, and that's a recipe for a stock price at an all-time high. With, by the way, a valuation that is not unreasonable at all, especially in this environment. However, quickly. Yeah. The one thing we've also said, though, is the existential risk, if there is one, is for advertisers to start to flee. And at least for now, for the month of July, at least 3 have left. And I found it fascinating that 3 were Patagonia, North Face, and REI. And at the top of the show, I said, they're clearly playing to the Tenzing Norgay crowd. And it's, people to the extent that they understand that. I mean, it's just fascinating to me that apparently rock climbing and mountaineering is sort of the sector.
But dude, I mean, people that are living off the land are people that are in touch. I mean, look, I got to be clear. I've been camping about 3 times in my life. My wife bought us a 6-person North Face tent, and it's sitting in our backyard, and the kids have camped in it a couple times this summer. But I mean, I had a bunch of hippie pals that wanted to take me camping when I was in my late teens, early 20s. And I can tell you those couple trips ended badly. They ended with me basically hiking straight out of the woods, straight to a Motel 6 and a McDonald's. As much as I can appreciate a beautiful day, that whatever, man, smelling like petroleum oil and eating granola, not my idea of a good time.
Yeah, I've never been. Listen, it's hard to believe. I know I've never been to. I mean, the allure of camping is interesting. Yeah. Fresh air, everything beautiful, catching a fish, campfire, all that stuff. But the reality is completely different.
The other thing about that is, like, dude, the North Face gear that people are wearing around Manhattan, like they just got out of a glacier. It's absurd. Like, people are hunkered down with parkas and like gloves as if they've just been ice fishing, on a frozen pond for. I mean, anyway, it is extraordinary that these 3 advertisers, it's actually 5, but 3 happen to be straight out of Field and Stream, are the ones that did it. And I do think that Facebook has to be very careful here, because advertisers who are brand conscious, and to be very clear, those 3 companies are absolutely brand conscious. And then think of like the biggest brand conscious out there, and that's Nike, that's Starbucks, and so
Walmart,
far no signs of that.
And there's an absolute no question about it. And I mean, we goof around a lot, I understand, but we also try to help you folks as well. And this is an absolute risk that we're talking about, that we've talked about, and here it is front and center. So you can choose to say it's not a big deal, but be aware that this is just, in my opinion, the beginning of many, many companies leaving. And don't discount the fact that I know Snap is not fair. I'm not trying to correlate the two, but Snap was at, I think Snap, the company, had a period of time where their viability rests in the hands of Facebook. And luckily for Snap, Facebook sort of, I think, got sidetracked a bit. And now Snap is a viable company. And if you look at what the stock has done over the last month and a half, I think that tells you all you need to know. So I do think there are options for advertisers now.
Well, I think Snap certainly, I have not been built up on Snap, and I've probably been somewhat critical of it, but I think the lack of real investability and capacity to invest in social media platforms is very few and far between. And I'll go one further and say some of this strife around Facebook, I think could be very good for Facebook. And I think, I'm like antitrust and as it relates to the properties that they have and their dominance. If you broke Facebook up into Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, and the main platform, the sum of the parts equal a lot more than where this company's trading, especially when you consider the size of Instagram and the monetization that's only gotten going recently. That WhatsApp is arguably the global texting and communication and so anyway, I actually think that some of this may be a positive for Facebook. And then the other thing that was, we talked about for 2 weeks is that when Facebook looked as if they were siding with, hey, we're not going to be the arbiter of the truth, it actually looked as if there's a populist, there's a tranche of the populist movement that actually wants that. And obviously that's different than I think the group that's pushing back against them now. But it's so hard to call right now. It's just not surprisingly Facebook's in the middle of it again.
Yeah, and I don't think you're suggesting that. I mean, I think there are a number of different ways it could happen. You're right. The breakup value of Facebook is probably a huge plus for the stock, but I don't think that's necessarily what we're talking about here. I'm not suggesting you're saying that, but I will say this. The best Bruce Springsteen album of all time was Darkness. And one of the greatest songs of all time is Darkness. And I believe for Facebook, there is a darkness on the edge of town, and it's coming in the face of the three mountaineering companies that we just talked about. That's just the beginning.
Listen to you. So that's interesting that you went back to your Jersey roots, and yet you're from Croton on the Hudson. So you're not really a Jersey boy, but you went right for the boss. And I agree with you. I think Darkness on the Edge of Town, or maybe even Greetings from Asbury Park. But yeah, I might go with Born to Run. Actually, no. I know this is crazy, but
as a matter of fact, and I know we're running out of time. If I had and I'll do this on the Twitter later tonight. If I had to list the top 10 Bruce Springsteen songs, Born to Run is not the top 25, and I'm going to put it out later. Born to Run's
Thunder Road.
Thunder Road is the Bruce Springsteen song of all time. I mean, Darkness is. I mean,
we were brawling over that one. Yeah.
No, we're not. We are not brawling. I'm going to put my list out shortly. Be ready.
By the way, I'm a huge fan of Springsteen, and what you don't know is that I've actually worked out with the boss a couple times at the gym.
That is for another show, and there's a Regis Philbin angle I know as well, but we'll talk about it tomorrow.
He can squat more than I can. Talk to you later.